If you're curious as to what is selling on eBay right now, this video shows a large portion of all of the items I have sold during the first quarter of 2025. These are sales across eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, and Bonanza. I sell on all 4 of these platforms. eBay is definitely where I get majority of my sales. I was sick at the beginning of the year, so don't mind my voice in the first couple clips. I spent $837.88 on a large perfume lot. This Christian Dior Dune perfume sold on Mercari for $134. I pay no fees, so I profited $134. That same day, this Ralph Lauren Tuxedo Mini Cologne sold for $24.99. And again, I pay no fees, so I profited $24.99. This mini Cartier men's cologne sold on Mercari for $20. All of these sold within 2 days of listing. This Laura Ashley perfume sold for $33 on eBay. I profited $30.58. This one took 4 days to sell. This mini Versailles perfume sold for $76.50. After fees and shipping on eBay, I profited $67.85. This perfume took about 5 days to sell. Since that perfume was new in the box, it's kind of hard to tell how big it is, but this is the actual size of that perfume. This Princess Marcella perfume oil sold for $191.25. After fees and shipping, I profited $163.44. This bottle of Escada perfume sold for $144.50. After fees and shipping, I profited $126.42. These 2 perfumes took 6 days to sell. This bottle of vintage Chloe perfume sold for $64 on Mercari. I pay no fees, so I profited $64. I should be in the profit on all of these perfumes within the next few days. This Givenchy perfume sold for $210 plus shipping. This perfume put me in the profit on an $800 lot that I purchased. This small perfume sold for $127 plus shipping. All of the perfumes in this video came from that $800 lot. This vintage Guess mini perfume sold for $42 plus shipping. The new West mini and this Guess mini are 100% profit after fees. The Givenchy ended up being a $7 profit after fees and cost of goods. These 2 stain remover bars sold for $24 plus shipping. These ones took about 3.5 weeks to sell. I paid $12 for these 3 bags of razors at Ollie's about a month and a half ago, and they sold for $34.99. It took 6 weeks for this lava lamp replacement piece to sell. It sold for $44.99 plus shipping. I usually piece out lava lamps when they don't work. I never test them in the store. It took 9 months for these Goody hair clips to sell. They sold for $34.99 plus shipping. This Estee Lauder eye pencil refill sold for $60 plus shipping. I paid $2 for this at an estate sale, and it took about 3 days to sell. I spent $43 total at this sale, so this one item will pay for everything. This was in the shade khaki and marked made in Japan. These Goody hair clips sold for $20. They took about 9 months to sell. I paid $25 for these. They're brand new in the package from 1975. I paid $75 for this perfume at a thrift store, and it took about 2 days to sell. It sold for $225 plus shipping. These next 2 perfumes came from a lot that I paid a little over $800 for, and they are both all profit because I've already made my money back. This one sold for $30, and then this little tiny mini sold for $18. Both of these took about 2 weeks to sell. 3 of these packs of Downy sold for $90 plus shipping. I paid $10 each for these at a discount grocery store, and they took about 3 months to sell. I sold a total of 9 of these since September. These 2 packs of pencils sold overnight for $32.99. These are 100% profit. I've already made my money back from everything I purchased at this estate sale. This bottle of Armani sold on Mercari for $24 plus shipping. After fees, this is also 100% profit. This came from a large perfume lot. I paid a little over $800 for. These 3 bottles of Chloe Narcisse also came from that big perfume lot. These are 100% profit after fees as well. These sold for $34 on Mercari. These 2 tubes of discontinued Arbonne lipsticks sold for $36 plus shipping. These probably took about 2.5 months to sell. This light therapy mask took about 3 months to sell. I paid $6 and it sold for $33. I took a really low offer on Poshmark on these boots just to get my money back and get rid of them. After taxes, I paid a little less than $85 for these. I took an offer of $115. After the Poshmark fee, That's $92, which means I made around $7 on these. I paid $12 for these 3 bottles of cleaner at an estate sale. These took 2 months to sell, and they sold for $80 plus shipping. This Estee Lauder lip liner refill sold for $49.49 on eBay. I paid $2, and this took about a week and a half to sell. These vintage Barbie shoes sold for $17.99. I paid $30 for a big bag full of shoes. This pair sold overnight. This Homedics Magnetic Therapy also sold overnight. I paid a little less than $4 for this, and it sold for $28.99 plus shipping. These next 3 sales are all profit. These came from an $800 perfume lot that I've already made my money back on. This perfume mini sold for $28.99, and it took 3 weeks to sell. This mini Bowling Green by Jeffrey Bean sold for $24.99 plus shipping, and this one also took 3 weeks to sell. This perfume sold for $76.99 plus shipping, and it took 3 weeks to sell. I paid $3.03 for this mop refill, and it sold within 48 hours for $18 plus shipping. I paid 99 cents for this throw pillow. Over a year ago, I was just getting ready to donate it, and it sold for $16 plus shipping. Last time I updated you guys on my $837 perfume haul, I was in the profit $267.79. Since then, this Nautica cologne sold for $29.74, which was a $26.58 profit. This little bottle of Calvin Klein Obsession sold for $18, which was a $15.93 profit. This bottle of perfume sold for $30.59, which was a $27.16 profit. This mini sold for $28.99, which ended up being a profit of $25.33. Don't pass up on minis just because they are small. I've sold several for over $80. Next up is this Jeffrey Bean Bowling Green mini, and this one sold for $24.99, which was a profit of $21.95. All of these perfumes sold within 3 weeks after listing. I accidentally ran a 30% off sale instead of a 10% off sale. This perfume sold for $76.99 during that sale, which ended up being a profit of $69.01. These 3 bottles of Chloe Narcisse sold on Mercari for $35, which ended up being a profit of $29.97. This bottle of Armani sold for $24 on Mercari the day before the fee change, so this was a $24 profit. I still have a few $1,000s worth of perfumes listed. My best guess, it'll take 10 months for all of these to sell. This Allen & Williams pottery piece sold for $65 plus shipping in less than 30 minutes. I paid $4.99 for this. I paid $5.99 for this Margaritaville margarita machine bag, and it sold in less than 24 hours for $55 plus shipping. When I picked this up, the comps were not looking too good. Only one had sold, but I figured if I priced it correctly, it would sell, and it sold quickly in less than 24 hours. I paid $6.99 for this, and it sold for $41. The same thing for these napkins. This was a gamble I was willing to take because Valentine's Day is so close. I paid $4.99 for these, and they sold for $21 in less than 24 hours. These next 3 sales took a month to sell, and all 3 came from an $840 perfume lot. I've already made my money back, so after fees, these are all profit. The first one is this Ralph Lauren lotion. This one sold for $20.13. These 2 Escada minis sold for $49.75 plus shipping. And this little Anne Klein mini sold for $16.49 plus shipping. I'm at about a $700 profit on that $840 perfume lot. This clock sold for $86.50. I paid $5 for this at an estate sale, and it took 4 months to sell. It does not work properly. It would have sold for much more if it did. I paid $24.99 for this Fry blanket at TJ Maxx 3 months ago, and I took an offer of $110 on Poshmark. After cost of goods and $22 in Poshmark fees, this is a $62 profit. I paid $25 for this brush at an estate sale, and it sold for $22 on Poshmark. It took 5 months to sell. This is a $17 profit after fees, and this one is from the Fuller Brush Company. It took about 6 months for this Goody hair bonnet to sell. It sold for $12, and I paid 10 cents for this at an estate sale. I knew this one would take a long time to sell. I just picked it up because it was so cheap. It took about 7 months to sell. These 3 countertop cleaners sold for $71 plus shipping. I paid $12 for these at an estate sale, and they took about 6 weeks to sell. This pack of vintage Carter's washcloths sold for $20, and they took about 2 weeks to sell. I paid $1.99 for these. This bar of Aveda soap sold for $41 plus shipping. I paid $1 for this at an estate sale about 3 weeks ago. This set of kids Nike golf clubs I picked up for $125 at an estate sale, and in less than 24 hours they sold for $250 plus $50 in shipping. I took an offer on this one. I did have them listed for $300. This slender tone belt took less than a week to sell. I paid $4.99 for this, and it sold for $50 plus shipping. This Christmas needlepoint took over a year to sell. I paid $2.99 for it, and it sold for $35.85, and Christmas stuff sells all year round for me. I paid $0.25 for this Goody hairbrush. It took 7 months to sell, and I took an offer of $13 on this. This little genie lamp goes to the Barbie Arabian Nights outfit, and this took about 10 months to sell. I'm all in the profit from other items I've sold from this lot, and this piece sold for $9. I paid $3.99 for this Valerie Carhill Easter house, and it sold for $34 over on Mercari. This one took about 2 months to sell. This Icy Hot 10s unit pad, I picked it up for $1.99, and it took 2.5 months to sell. It sold on Mercari for $42. I paid $6 for these 2 hair serums. They took 2 months to sell, and they sold for $54 on Poshmark. I paid 99 cents for this 1975 plush. She sold within 2 days for $19.08. I picked up 2 of these cleaners at a small grocery store 4 months ago. I paid a little less than $5 per bottle, and they both sold for $133 plus shipping. I still have 3 of these left to sell. I might have initially paid a nickel for this little night trio, and it sold for $12 on eBay, and it took 2 months to sell. These next 2 sales came from an $840 perfume lot that I picked up. I've already more than made my money back on these, so after fees, these are both all profit. I took an offer on this perfume, and it sold for $45, and this Estee Lauder blush sold for $30 plus shipping. Both of these took about 5 weeks to sell. I paid $3.99 for this Bath & Body Works shower gel 3 weeks ago, and it sold for $22 plus shipping on eBay. I paid $1 for this perfume in May at a garage sale, and it sold for $60 plus shipping. This took a while to sell, but I made over a 5,000% return on my $1 investment. I paid $2 for this brush, mirror, and comb set at an estate sale, and it sold on Poshmark in 3 weeks for $36. I paid $125 for this case of Barbie items at an estate sale 2 weeks ago, and this vintage Barbie twist and turn swimsuit sold for $15 plus shipping. These vintage Barbie heads came from the same $125 lot. These sold for $19 plus shipping. These are in very rough condition. There's a bubble cut, a midge, and this is a Fashion Queen Barbie head. This Yahtzee game is all profit. I made my money back on this estate sale haul. This sold for $30 in less than 2 days. This Calvin Klein mini splash sold on Mercari for $10. This came from a large $840 perfume lot. It's all profit because I've already made my money back. I paid $1 for these vintage Revlon reader glasses. These are dated 1993, and they sold on Poshmark for $26. This bottle of vintage Lauren by Ralph Lauren cologne sold for $110 on Mercari. This is all profit. It came from a $300 perfume lot I picked up about 7 months ago. This Ralph Lauren Safari came from the exact same perfume lot, and it sold for $35 plus shipping, and this one is about 35% full. It also sold on Mercari. I took a $20 offer on this vintage scooter doll. She took about 2 weeks to sell and came from a $125 Barbie lot that I picked up. These next few mini colognes and perfumes all came from a large $800 perfume lot I picked up. This mini sold on eBay for a little bit more than $8. This Calvin Klein Crave mini sold for $34, and this one is a half-ounce bottle. This 1/4 ounce Fred Heyman bottle sold for a little bit less than $8. And this Armani mini sold for $17 plus shipping on eBay. All of these perfumes took around 8 weeks to sell. This vintage pack of press-on nails sold for $20 plus shipping. These took about a month and a half to sell. I paid around 50 cents for these at an estate sale. This vintage Goody hair pick took around 2 weeks to sell. It sold for $12. My buyer was all in $18.81 after shipping and taxes. I make thousands every year off of vintage combs and brushes, so keep an eye out for these. These two conditioners took around 2 months to sell. I'm all in the profit from these from an estate sale. These sold for $12, but my buyer was all in $24.94. It took 3 months for this moth spray to sell. I picked this up for $1 at an estate sale and it sold for $20. These next three items come from an $830 perfume lot that I'm way into the profit on. This Givenchy men's mini cologne sold for $18. This OP juice was a Mercari sale and it sold for $10 plus shipping. And these all took just shy of 8 weeks to sell. This Desire by Dunhill sold for $19 plus shipping over on eBay. I've made a few $1,000s off of the estate sale these soaps came from. These are my last two to sell. I paid 60 cents each for these and I sold them in a lot for $28 plus shipping. This Ralph Lauren sheet sold for $60 on Mercari. It took about a month for it to sell. I paid $16.99 for this at Salvation Army. This Bose speaker sold for $37 on Poshmark. It took a little over a year for this to sell. I paid $1 at a garage sale. I bought a large number of vintage toys at an estate sale. I paid around $1 for this one and it took 7 months to sell. It sold on Etsy for $50. I paid $1.99 for these Icy Hot 10s unit pads and they sold overnight for $56 plus shipping. These are always a quick sale, so keep an eye out for them. This was probably one of my worst pickups. I paid $6 total for these at Ollie's, and I went ahead and took an offer of $14 just to move them. I've had this perfume in my death pile for about 10 months. Once I got it listed, it sold on Mercari for $20. I paid $1. I paid maybe a quarter for this Victoria's Secret body splash. It took 4 months to sell, and it sold on Mercari for $14 plus shipping. I paid $20 for this napkin holder and 3 cherry canisters. It took a month for this piece to sell. It sold on Mercari for $13 plus shipping. This pack of tampons from 1985 sold for $16 plus shipping. I paid 99 cents for this pack and it took about 10 months to sell. It took around 6 weeks for all of these eyeshadows to sell. I paid $1.99 for them. This single sold for $18 plus shipping, and then somebody purchased 3 for $54 plus shipping. So I paid $8 and they all sold for $72. It took about 9 weeks for this pack of Lalique mini perfumes to sell. It sold for $72 and this comes from a big perfume lot I paid $800 for. I'm all in the profit on that lot. These two Cool Water minis came from the same lot. These sold for $10 plus shipping. This Jessica McClintock perfume also came from that lot. It sold for $23 on Mercari. Since this is a used perfume, I couldn't list it on eBay. This flatware set is called Eternally Yours by Roger Brothers. It took 6 weeks to sell. I paid $50 for this at a thrift store, and I took an offer of $100 plus shipping on eBay. This vintage pack of Bic pens from 1989 sold for $10.80 on eBay. I maybe paid 5 cents for them at an estate sale. They took about 3 months to sell. These next few sales all came from the same $800 perfume lot I'm all in the profit on. This Liz Claiborne sold for $13. This very small Decadence sold for $6 plus shipping. This bottle is 1/8 of an ounce. This little mini is an Oscar de la Renta and it sold for $9 plus shipping on eBay. This Estee Lauder Pleasures mini sold on Mercari for $12. This perfume came from an estate sale. I paid $1 for it and it sold on Etsy for $35. It took well over a year for this bottle to sell. This set has been in my death pile for a year. Once I got it listed, it sold within 3 weeks. I paid $7.99 for it and it sold for $44.50. I paid $15 for this double wedding ring quilt and shams. This set took 3 weeks to sell. It sold over on Mercari for $135. This video came out a couple days late. The flu decided to run through my house. One of my daughters is sick, so I've been laying on the couch with her. I am super excited. I'm taking off on Tuesday for a thrifting adventure. We're hitting the road, probably gonna be, I don't know, like a 1,500 mile, 2,000 mile road trip. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I will have some really fun content for you guys in the weeks to come. But thank you guys so much for watching. I am sitting here at an estate sale and it's almost time to walk in. So I'm gonna cut this one short, but thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you and you will see me in a couple of days on my next video.